Alright YouTube, so we are back to talk about some Final Fantasy VII Remake, and today we are discussing the end-game content. The reason we're talking about it today is because I'm kind of getting into that now. I beat the game like a little over a week ago, and kind of detox from the game, take a break from it. A lot of people like beat the game, hopped right back into another playthrough, and doing all the extra stuff, and whenever I beat a game, I want to like take a break, and then kind of get back into it, and do the achievements and trophies and things like that, and that's what I'm doing currently. So since I'm now messing with the in-game / post-game content, I kind of want to get my thoughts on it. So first up, we have the chapter select. Now, in theory, this is a cool idea. I don't recall any other Final Fantasies that even have chapters like this, much less a chapter select where you can go back to just any chapter you want to and replay it again. So I really do like the concept of being able to go back to specific points in the story and replay them again if you just really enjoyed them or just want to relive it. Where the chapter select kind of falls apart for me is having to complete entire chapters in order to save changes. So we did a video about how to get all 9 dresses in the game. You have to go back to like chapter 3 and give Tifa a different answer so she gets a different dress. But then you have to complete all of chapter 3, right? You got to finish that out to be able to save that choice. Then you got to hop over to, I believe it's chapter 6 for Aerith. Do, the amount of side quests you want to do to get her a specific dress, complete all of chapter 6. And then you got to hop over to chapter 9 and do things differently for Cloud to get a different dress. It's like super tedious and very annoying if I'm honest. To me, it just feels like monotonous busy work to pad game time. I don't see why we can't just make a different choice, like give Tifa a different answer, save it, and then just chapter select on to like chapter 6. Like I don't understand why you have to complete a chapter to save a choice. Moving on from this, since we're talking about the chapter select, we also have the hard mode, which you can only play through chapter select. Obviously, that's a big detriment. I don't understand why you can't do like a hard mode playthrough. I know the enemies are pretty strong, so you kind of need those extra levels that you got through your first playthrough, but they could have made it to where they could have scaled the enemies down to like level 1, just difficult enemies, right? Like they don't have to be level 45 enemies or whatever. Pretty much every game out there has like an easy mode, a normal mode, a hard mode, and then like an insane difficulty or whatever they want to call it, and you can do that from the beginning, right? It's just, this is the first game I've personally seen where the hardest mode you have to like do a new game plus with or whatever. Like it's kind of strange. Now, as for the hard mode itself, my thoughts on that, it's not really for me. I'm not somebody who plays games on the hardest difficulty for bragging rights or whatever the case. I wanted this to be the first game I platinumed for my PS4, but I don't know that I'm going to commit to a hard mode playthrough. The other day, I started up the hard mode playthrough on Chapter 1, and I got to the Scorpion Sentinel pretty damn easy. The basic enemies weren't hard at all, but then I got to the Scorpion Sentinel, and it got to the phase where he raises up the tail, and you gotta hide behind the debris, and he just, before I could even run across the bridge to get to the debris, he lasered Barret and Cloud and like killed them both. Like, and you have to like restart the whole chapter again and play through it again, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't mind the enemies being harder and the boss fights more difficult, but I'm not a big fan of having to redo the entire chapter again. I'll pass on that. Moving on from here, we have the secret boss of the game, Pride and Joy, which I cannot vouch for the fight itself because I've not got that far into my chapter select playthrough and stuff like that. Now, in order to fight Pride and Joy, you have to complete a few tasks. You have to beat the entire story at least once, which isn't really a surprise. You have to do all of Chadley's battle intel reports and VR challenges, which I've just about completed. You have to win every Corneo Coliseum challenge, which is currently what I'm doing. That's why I'm in Chapter 9. I was finishing up Eris that I didn't do in the main story. And then finally, you have to complete all Shinra Battle Simulator challenges, including the hard mode only challenges, which is what I'm doing next. Now, I haven't super looked into him because I'm trying to go into that fight as fresh as I can, but I'm assuming that him being the secret boss means he's the hardest boss in the game, as he should be. I'm just happy to see that there is a secret boss in the game who's really, really powerful. We did an entire video talking about the possibility of super bosses in the game. I don't know if he qualifies as that. I don't know how much stronger he is than the base game bosses. Since we just talked about Pride and Joy, we also have the new combat simulator challenges in the Shinra building that you can do with chapter select on hard mode only. I'm absolutely all for this. I love having like post-game new bosses to fight, like Pride and Joy. Right here you have the Marlboro, of course. Again, I haven't got to this point just yet. I was finishing up the Corneo Coliseum, and I was finishing up some of the like easier trophies that I didn't get through my first playthrough. So again, I cannot vouch for the new fights themselves, but I'm just glad to have more bosses to fight. And I believe the last thing that's actually new when it comes to the post-game content is all the new manuscripts to get, which I believe in the base game there was like 12, which I only found like 1 or 2 for each of the characters. I don't know. If there's actually 12, I missed a lot. But with the post-game content, the hard mode playthrough, there's like 56, or I've also read that there's a total of 60, so I don't know what the exact number is, but there's a lot more to obtain. But again, you got to play it on hard mode, and I just don't know that I care enough to play through this game on hard mode. I might, once I max all my characters, get everybody to level 50, max all their weapons, I might commit to that hard mode playthrough eventually, but for now, I just don't really care about this. And past all the additional stuff, you also have all the extra stuff that you didn't do, like get all the music discs, do all the side quests, all the discoveries. But that's not necessarily post-game content. That's the stuff you didn't do through your first playthrough. I'm talking about all the new additional things. And that'll pretty much wrap up my thoughts on the post-game content. I love the idea of chapter select. I just don't really necessarily like the implementation, the way they're doing it. I like the hard mode idea, but again, I don't know why you can't do like a fresh playthrough on hard mode. I wish they'd have done that. I love all the additional battles, like the VR battles and Pride and Joy and things like that. That's awesome. But compared to some other Final Fantasies, it doesn't feel like there's enough to do once you beat the game other than just playing through the game again, which to me is just not really that fun. Like, I absolutely enjoy my playthrough of the remake. I try to make it last as long as I possibly could, but I don't have that drive like a lot of other people do to just like play through the game again. That doesn't really sound that fun to me, if I'm honest. So I want to pass this off to you guys. What are your thoughts on the post-game content for Final Fantasy VII Remake? Are you having fun with it? Are you enjoying your second, third, or fourth playthrough of the game? Do you enjoy hard mode? Is it too hard for you? Is it too easy? Leave your thoughts and more in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to see more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @dashingdavid. I'm a Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys. Give me a smile, give me forever for a while. Give me forever for a while. Quit acting like a baby, or at least less like a